Hello, welcome to Slorg Pinions. On the Pinions today, we're talking Squad 44 versus Squad. So I've been playing a lot of Squad 44 recently, and what I've found is that Squad 44 seems to be in an honestly incredible place. One of the best places it's ever been in. Meanwhile, Squad seems to be becoming more and more garbage. Everything coming out of that game just seems to be making it worse. And it's shocking. It seems so strange. Like, why is Squad 44, a game made by OWI, technically, going from strength to strength, while another game made by OWI called Squad, and they're kind of to an extent the same game, just in different settings, seems so lost. Squad seems so lost right now. So I've made some points. I've got 5 points because YouTube loves lists. YouTube loves numbers. We got 5 numbers. And of course, the last number is the one that you don't see coming, and probably the most important one, because again, this is a YouTube video, so number 5 is always the most important. Let's start with a brief history of Squad 44, just to get you caught up. So Squad 44 was originally a World War II mod for Squad. It was called Postscriptum back then. Eventually, it was allowed to be let free, set into the wild, as its own thing, again, called Postscriptum. It was headed up by a French company called Periscope Games. And one thing led to another, and eventually all the devs quit. The prevailing consensus on the that particular drama seems to be that the CEO of the company was a scumbag. Anyway, shortly after that, OWI actually rebought. They didn't buy in the first place. They acquired the IP of Postscriptum. So Postscriptum returned to Big Daddy Squad. They renamed it Squad 44. And it remained its own game, but now it's called Squad 44, and it was under the umbrella of OWI. I don't know what happened to Squad 2 through 43. Maybe we'll find out one of these days. Anyway, Squad 44 became OWI's World War II kind of section. It's now developed by OWI and also a company called Mercury Arts. I don't really know what extent which people work on which things, how much of it is OWI, how much of it is Mercury, I don't know. I wish I knew. But it seems that Squad 44, ever since being brought back into the OWI fold, has just gone from strength to strength. The progress that I've seen in that game over the last 6 months is unbelievable. The optimization is really good, constant improvements, new maps, new content. Complete refreshes and updates of old maps as well. New game modes. They recently added the Frontlines game mode. Significant graphical improvements included in the updates to all the maps. And the game is honestly one of the best tactical shooters, I think, at least large-scale shooters you can currently buy. Which is kind of crazy, considering not too long ago it was near enough a dead game called Postscriptum. But then on the other side of that, you have this game called Squad, also made by OWI, that's going in completely the other direction. It's just having one game-breaking bug after another. It's honestly crazy how many game-breaking bugs are currently coming into this game. We had this FPS bug where your weapon sway is tied to your FPS, which is still an issue. That's still an issue, by the way. They haven't fixed that. There's a new bug with vehicles where, depending on the direction your vehicle is facing, determines the actual damage model for your vehicle. So if you're facing like northwest, you actually don't take damage a lot of the time, if you're like in a tank or something, compared to if you're facing north, which is crazy. It's game breaking. Like, these bugs are game breaking and they are not being fixed. They're still in the game. And then when you go and play a game like Squad 44, and it plays so well, it's so well optimized. It seems to really know what it is and what it's doing. And you sit there and you wonder, how are these games made by the same people? Anyway, I played a lot of Squad 44. Now we're going to get into the list. Here is 5 things that Squad can learn from Squad 44. Coming in at number 1, weapon bracing. I know that a lot of people will have talked about weapon bracing. Anyone who's played Squad 44 and then gone to Squad will talk about weapon bracing. It's a huge thing missing from Squad, especially with the update to their weapon systems. The ICO obviously made weapon handling much more difficult. There is no form of weapon bracing at all in Squad currently. In Squad 44, when you go up to like a surface, like, I don't know, it can be a wall, it can be a tree, Anything where realistically, if you were holding a weapon up, you'd probably be bracing it against that wall or that tree or whatever it is. You will get more stability in your weapon. An incredible feature. There's no like fancy animation. There's no like, there's no visual beyond a little picture that comes at the bottom of the screen that tells you you're currently bracing your weapon. But it's a very important feature in the game. If you factor that in with the stamina system in Squad, this is kind of a bonus to number one. The stamina system in Squad 44, you actually are able to manage it more effectively because you have a drink as part of your equipment that allows you to rapidly regain stamina. Squad also has a stamina system, but there is no way to regain your stamina or manage your stamina beyond just sitting there and waiting for it to come back. Which I don't think rewards players at all. I think it's just arbitrary stuff that gets in the way of a good player trying to play the game well. You just have to constantly stand still and wait for your stamina to come back, just arbitrarily. Seems strange. I don't know, it seems strange when, again, Squad 44 has weapon bracing. A huge feature of that game that honestly Squad desperately needs. Let's move in to number 2, optimization. Many people have issues with Squad's optimization. It's no secret that Squad's optimization is terrible. Squad might be the most poorly optimized game I've ever played. And that'll be true of anyone you ask is going to tell you that Squad is one of the worst optimized games you could play. When you play Squad, right, you're constantly taken aback by just how bad the performance is. And especially when there are bugs like your FPS is tied to your performance. There definitely doesn't help with the issues. Squad is the only game I've ever played where my OBS, which is what I used to record, will consistently crash while trying to record this game because it just gets overwhelmed with the amount of information and data and resources that are being used by the game. It's got to the point now, every single time I play Squad, the optimization seems to be worse. With each patch that goes by, it seems to be worse. It's at the point now where on certain maps like Fallujah, for example, if I try and use the sniper rifle, I was playing Canadians, I was using the Canadian sniper rifle with the 25 times scope. Every time I brought up my scope to use the 25 times zoom element of that gun, my recording would crash. Every single time. Without fail. Because there is just too much poorly optimized data just crushing my system. I have a 3080, NVIDIA 3080. I have a 5800 X3D, which is famously one of the best processors you could get, especially for gaming and especially for managing Squad. Squad famously works quite well with X3D, that line of processors. And even with that, if I'm trying to record this game, my recordings will regularly crash on the worst optimized maps, like Fallujah. Meanwhile, in Squad 44, the optimization is unbelievably good. The game runs so well, so smooth. I think I had one situation of an FPS drop the entire time I've played this game, which is insane. It is insanely well optimized, the game. And they actually had issues with optimization back in March. And within like a week or a few weeks of having those optimization issues, they'd fixed them. And they released a patch note saying, hey, we fixed the optimization issues. And they had. They actually had. Meanwhile, I play Squad. Every single time I play Squad, I look at the patch notes. At the bottom of like every single patch notes, there's like oh, hey, by the way, we've fixed the optimization. Or we've improved the optimization. It's always worse. It's always worse. I don't know what they're talking about. The optimization just seems to get worse with Squad every single time I play, while Squad 44, the optimization just keeps getting better. And every patch notes, they're talking about improving optimization. I'm like, guys, the optimization is already amazing. What are you talking about? The Squad desperately needs to address these optimization issues because they're just not getting any better. Meanwhile, Squad 44 is sitting there with some of the best optimization I've ever seen. And Squad 44 also looks incredible. It's not like they're sacrificing graphical fidelity for it. The game looks amazing. I don't know if it's because of the color grading or they're using a different kind of rendering system for their lighting or something. I don't know. I think both games are made on Unreal Engine 4. So I'd be surprised if they're doing anything drastically different, but it definitely feels like it looks better than Squad and also runs better, which is strange. Squad really needs to fix these optimization issues. And again, so strange that Squad 44 is doing so well, while Squad is so poor in the optimization department. Number 3, map design and variety. Squad 44 has some really good maps. Now, I'm sure they're helped by the fact that they're building maps based on real-life battles that took place. You know, the classic like D-Day style maps are always just killer maps, I think, for gameplay in general most of the time. Quite difficult to do in a more modern setting because there aren't really, you know, D-Day hasn't happened in the last 30 years or whatever. But nevertheless, Squad 44 has some really cool maps. There's stuff that I think Squad could do. Like Squad 44 has a map where you attack a castle and one team is defending the castle, the other team is attacking the castle. It's just different. It just shakes things up. It's just an interesting way to design a map. The Squad just doesn't have any of that at all. Squad 44 has a new game mode they just added called Frontlines, which is basically, I think it's randomly generated map to map in a Frontlines mode. You'll have different objectives within the map. So you're not just playing AAS every single time. Like the Frontlines mode adds like a kind of, some maps have a bit where you have to destroy an objective before you can move on to capping flags. A really interesting idea, which shakes up the game. It shakes up the game. It makes things more interesting. It makes things more fun, more viable. It switches up gameplay. Squad, you're still stuck just playing AES or RAS or Invasion. And those are your options. And by now, everyone and their mum knows the map layouts. I know they added map voting. I don't think it goes far enough to adding any variety to these maps. You've played them to death. You've played them to death. I really wish they would shake these things up. How cool would it be if there was a layer of Fallujah where one team has to defend the mosque at all costs and the other team has to take it, and that's the entire game? I don't know. I just feel like they're missing a trick there and could really, again, learn from some of the variety Squad 44 has going on. Number 4, intuitive soldier damage model. This is, I dare say this is a bit of a niche take. In Squad 44, when you are shot in the head, you die. Which sounds pretty obvious. But it is not. Because in Squad, if you're shot in the face, you can still be revived. In Squad, if you're shot by a tank round directly square in your chest, you can be revived. In Squad 44, if you are killed by a thing that would completely obliterate you and you'd be beyond saving, beyond repair, you're dead. You're dead. And also in Squad 44, if you are hit with a rifle, you usually die. Or, you know, you go wounded, right? It's usually like a one shot to wounded. For most weapons within the kind of ranges that you're fighting. Occasionally a 2-shot if you're using one of the, like an MP40 or something. But I can't help but feel like the fact that in Squad 44, knowing that if you've shot a dude in the head, he's dead, and also makes a sound when you shoot a guy in the head, so you know you've shot them in the head, goes a long way to making gameplay more clear and clarity being a lot better for the individual player, as opposed to in Squad, where you really have no idea if any of the people that you've shot are actually dead. If you're at risk of being attacked by a bunch of people who've been revived after you've obliterated them with heat rounds from a tank, like they can all just come back. It's strange. I think there needs to be a bit more dead in Squad. Squad 44 seems to have it locked down. It's so clear what weapons do what damage. In Squad, I feel like sometimes you're hitting a dude 3 times in the chest with a rifle and they're still standing. The damage models seem a bit strange. I do get that in Squad you're operating at longer ranges usually, so maybe there's some consideration there to weapon damage and weapon fall off, while in Squad 44 that's maybe not the case. But I can't help but feel like Squad 44, the weapon damage and the systems in place for dead versus wounded and able to be revived are just clearer cut. They're more obvious. It's easier to understand, and I think it just makes the game play better. And I think it's weird. This might be weird to say, but I think there's a certain element of kind of fun. I think it's kind of fun to be like, I am so dead. I just got obliterated by a tank. I am gone from this world. There's nothing left of me. I like that. And it also allows you to add like in Squad 44, you can get your legs blown off. Like in Squad, you couldn't get your legs blown off because if you got your legs blown off, but then you got revived, your legs would come back. But in Squad 44, you can obliterate a guy's legs because that body is never going to be revivable, which is good. I think it's a good thing. I think it adds a layer of quality to the game that Squad just doesn't have. And here we are. We've made it. Number 5, logistics system. I know, how exciting. Number 5 is talking about logistics systems. I think this is one of the biggest issues in Squad right now, and I think Squad 44 does it so much better, and I think no one ever talks about this, and I don't know why. I don't know if you've just never thought about it, or you're scared, or... I actually had this conversation with someone on my Discord, and they had the complete opposite opinion, so maybe I'm just outspoken on this matter. I think Squad's logistics system is terrible. I think it's terrible. I think it actively hinders the game at almost every turn. Meanwhile, Squad 44's logistics system, I think, is exactly how you should do a logistics system. In Squad 44, right, they still have HABs, you know, spawn points. They're called tents that the team can spawn on and that you have to build, right? They still have that. And they still have Logi trucks, okay? What they don't have is they don't have an ammo system. So it's not like when you respawn in Squad 44, you have full ammo. You can build ammo crates and people can resupply themselves, but you spawn with full ammo. So Logi trucks actually only carry supplies. And the Logi truck can carry, I think it's 1,000 supplies, and then a spawn point takes just over 500 to build. So with one Logi truck, you can only build one spawn point without, you know, you have to return to the base if you want to build a second one, which means you're more locked into less spawn point building. And also, and this is a very key point, in Squad 44, there is dedicated logistics squads. And I think it's really, really important to have dedicated logistics squads because it allows you to have a system where there are some people dedicated to just making spawn points. And you don't have to, as a squad leader, have to faff around with it. You don't have to think about it. I'm going to try and explain this as best I can in the differences between these two games. In Squad 44, you nearly always have a spawn point. Your ease of access when it comes to playing the game is greatly improved because there's always a spawn point. There's MSPs as well. There's an MSP. Usually both teams have one MSP, mobile spawn point. A valuable asset. Again, the logistics team are basically on top of that, as well as being on top of building the spawn points. Having dedicated logistics teams, having dedicated people just there to build spawn points makes the game play a lot better because you always have a spawn point, for one, and two, as a squad leader, you're focused a lot less on what Squad seems to love having in their game, which is menial chores. When you join in as a squad leader in Squad or in any game really, I think in my mind as a squad leader, the thing I want to do, the squad leader wet dream, is to go around leading my squad and doing what I can as a squad to take objectives, take the fight to the enemy, to outmaneuver, out-tactics, you know, be better than the other team in terms of how I coordinate my squad and how my squad works together. What I don't want to be doing is things like backcapping, for one. No one wants to backcap. It's just a chore. And for two, I don't want to be going around worrying about managing logistics and managing my spawn points, managing who's going to build what. I feel like so much of Squad for squad leaders is just trying to figure out where the Logi truck is. You know, all it takes in a round of Squad is for one squad to take the Logi truck, drive it off to some random place, just dump it there and don't do anything with it. And then you've lost it. You've lost the Logi truck, the enemy probably find it, they shoot the tires out, now you're down to one Logi truck where once you had two, now all of a sudden building FOBs becomes almost impossible. You're just constantly on the back foot, you never have enough spawn points, you're constantly getting overwhelmed because some random guy took the Logi truck and dumped it in the middle of nowhere, right? In Squad 44, you never have that issue because the Logi truck can only be taken by the dedicated logistics team, right? So much better. And then as a squad leader, I'm not sitting there worrying about where the Logi is and how supplied my habs are. I'm not worried about whether if I respawn over here, whether I'm going to have enough ammo to resupply my men, because I don't need to worry about that. Because in Squad 44, you just spawn in with full ammo. I get that it's more arcadey. I get that it's easier. I get that it's less serious. It's less hardcore. I know. I can already see people complaining that you don't want to dumb down the squad logistics system. But honestly, it just gets in the way. The game is already too complicated down to the point where even just shooting someone is incredibly complicated. It's not exactly easy to just put a guy in your sights and take the shot. Even that is complicated in squad. So you want to take things away that get in the way of the gameplay, right? Having no spawn points, having no Logi trucks, having no ammo on the spawn points, because it all requires so much micromanagement and work from all the squad leaders working together, when really all you want is a squad is to be able to come together as a team and for your squad to be so valuable that it makes the game better for your team and for everyone. When the most valuable thing you can do in squad as a squad is just go around and build spawn points, I feel like the game is fundamentally flawed, you know? I'm pretty sure that if as a squad, all you did in squad was drive around in a Logi truck and just endlessly build spawn points, and that's how you could win every single game, I think there's a problem there. I think there's a big problem there. The problem is that the game needs dedicated logistics, and it needs, honestly, a simplification of the whole logistics system. I think Squad 44, well, yeah, it's more playable. It's more playable. Yes, it's dumbed down. It's dumbed down for sure. It definitely creates a more kind of meat grindery effect. It's definitely easier to just die, respawn, for sure, okay? For sure. But it ultimately makes the game more playable. And it means as a squad leader, you get that kind of band of brothers experience, right? You get that moment where you as the squad leader are with your gang and you're just trying to make the best you can of whatever situation you're in. And you don't have to worry about all this excess baggage that you have to worry about so much when you're playing squad. And I think it's a serious consideration that they should be making for whatever developments they make in the future for squad. And they could really learn from Squad 44 because I think their system is really good. And that's it. Those are 5 things that Squad desperately needs to learn from Squad 44. What do you think? What's your take? Am I way off base here? I don't think I am, but why would I ever think that I was off base? Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. And I really do want to see what you have to say on the topic. I think it's quite divisive. So you let me know. Until next time, goodbye.